Good evening, everybody. This is Casper from the Tropical Weather Threat Society, bringing you our nightly update regarding the tropics and pretty much everywhere across the world. Though most of the activity is here in our hemisphere, we'll say. So, real quick, we've still got our wave exiting out here off of the African mainland. And we now have Tropical Storm Mario out here into the Eastern Pacific. But first, we will jump into the Atlantic. Currently, we have a near 0% chance of development over the next 48 hours and a 40% chance of development over the next 7 days. As you can see, the hatched area does have this west-northwest to northwesterly component here. And that should, in hopes, keep it well away from any populated landmass. If we take a look at this afternoon's 12Z models, one thing, I'm going to push this out to 7 days and show everybody that yes, the Euro EPS legacy, physics-based model does have the potential for some development here. With our first wave, and then we have a second one right behind it. Now, at the same time, let me push this back out to 10 days. We, as of today, are now getting a somewhat of a corroborating signal from the Euro legacy with the GFS and the potential for CAG. And CAG stands for a Central American gyre. So we don't have a large signal out here, but it is something more than certainly what we had yesterday. And I will show everybody what we had yesterday. As you can see here, we didn't have anything. Now, today we have something. Another thing that the Euro has also backed off of yesterday is this little potential spot around the Turks and Caicos. As you could see here, not what we were looking at yesterday for sure. Okay, so let's compare the Euro legacy with the Euro AI. Now the Euro AI, as you could see here, definitely still has the development. What we were looking at yesterday was a lot more than what we're looking at today. Now that it has emerged over the open waters, we'll wait and see exactly what has happened. We've seen this numerous times this year to where we get a signal while it's on land, it emerges off of the landmass of Africa and then starts to slowly fall apart in the models. So we're going to have to wait and see. The one thing that the Euro AI does is a little bit of a couple circles still down here. What looks to be associated with this trough, and it could be tropical, most likely non-tropical, but it could be tropical. Now, if we compare the Euro AI with the GEFS, now I'm going to scroll this back to yesterday and show everybody what we were looking at. And yesterday we had, a pretty decent little cluster and maybe some intensity, and then getting out here with some intensity with the main development region. Well, if we take a look today, what a difference 24 hours makes. So it is going to be very interesting to see exactly how this continues to evolve over the next couple days. I do anticipate something to develop out here, at least into the main development region. We'll keep an eye on the Western Caribbean and the Gulf. But to see these back off the way that they have, here's the 6Z, and then the 12Z was like, I have no idea what you're talking about. That is, it would be welcomed, but it's something that we're going to have to wait and see if that carries over from run to run, because this has backed off quite a bit. Now, if we compare all these with our Google DeepMind, and it has been performing quite well this year. As we could see, there goes Mario out there into the Eastern Pacific. We've got another spot potentially developing. And now we've brought this out to 168 hours or 7 days. we are going to put our highlight on this. And as you could see, there are some of the Google DeepMind ensembles that gets it a little uncomfortably close, but none of them here in this region have power. So if it has power, it looks to be a little bit further to the north. If it doesn't have power, not so much. And then if we look here at our intensity distribution, by the time we're at day 7, we're located here, and we're here on the models. And then as we continue to go forward, there are some ensembles that still continue, do not develop this at all, or completely weaken it out. And then there are some ensembles that do potentially strengthen it. But as we could see here, a lot of these are still calling for it to turn and go out to the open waters of the Atlantic, with Bermuda potentially being the only threat, credible threat right now. All right, so let's jump into our physics-based global models. We have the Euro on the left and the GFS on the right. These graphics represent the 850 millibar level, which is approximately 1 mile above the ocean surface. What these models represent are areas of vorticity or spin at that 1 mile above the ocean surface level. So as we continue to run this forward, we can see that the rotation, the counterclockwise rotation of the wave out there into the main development region. Here we are, day 4, and we're starting to get a little bit of signal on it. Day 5, it's not a lot. It's really not. Day 6, and then here comes this wave in behind it as well. And we'll get out to day 7. As you can see, this wave behind it, the Euro is on it, the GFS is not. There are some considerable differences already here, going out 7 days. We do not have this wave associated. The Euro has it developed, the GFS does not. This is our front wave. The Euro might have a tropical depression maybe on that, probably not. Still a disorganized mess at that point. But the GFS has a trough right here, and you could see the winds coming up like this, and then the winds barreling down like that. So we have this trough feature here in day 7. We don't really have that too much here on the Euro, as to where we've got kind of a dip right here, and that is plunging down that way. So with the low pressure right there, and then the low, as far as the GFS is concerned, another low. I mean, they're pretty close to one another, so we can kind of give that a little bit of something. It is another low pressure that develops a little coastal area out here that helps to reinforce this boundary line. Okay, now we're going to run this forward again. We're going to take this out because over the last few days, we have noted that the GFS was trying to develop a Central American gyre. Well, here on the 12Z run of September the 12th, the gyre itself is sitting out over portions of the Eastern Pacific, and the Euro has somewhat of an agreement on that as well. An area of low pressure down here, the GFS is a little bit more robust on that. But as you could see, now that we've gotten a few days down the road, we didn't get the development here and then the subsequent scary run pulling northward. Now, just to combat the potential scary run, we're going to run this out even further and take it into La La Land. And as you could see, we didn't get the big scary hurricane. Maybe a little bit of a low pressure disturbance right there, but believe me, we're in fantasy land at this point. But the big scary hurricane was out here into the Eastern Pacific, and that is possible. That could occur. No doubt about it. So it's just something that we're going to continue to monitor. We have no United States threats over the next 7 to 10 days. So just something to keep a watch on. Now, what we have here are our humidity models. We have again, the Euro on the left and the GFS on the right. We have our 500 millibar relative humidity here on the top two graphics and our 700 millibar relative humidity on the bottom two graphics. So for terms that everybody can, cleanly understand here, we are looking at an area between 18 and 10,000 feet. We want to see what the humidity level is in this section of the atmosphere. This is our low to mid-level portion of the atmosphere. So we would like to know what the moisture level is, because the dry air has been the primary inhibitor of tropical storm, tropical depression, hurricane development for the majority of the season. So as we run this forward, we will notice that we do have that wave coming out, and we're starting to get a buildup of moisture here in the mid-levels at day 4 with the GFS and the Euro associated in portions of the Western Caribbean. But if we look right here, we have a mid-level low pressure feature. This is going to be a reinforcing shot for some of this dry air will sling down behind it and reinforce the dry air that's already there. As you can see on the 700 millibar level, we have the trough here and the Euro has the trough here. We have our low there and we have our low there. So as we, just to try to get a good setup, not really, our wave out here, we're dealing with, the potential for tropical cyclone development. There's no question about that. But this is out there into the middle of the main development region. And right now the models are calling for, at least the next 7 days to where we don't have a threat. So I'm not really paying too much. We're going to cover it, but I'm not really going to give it the endless amount of coverage that if something maybe tomorrow. We'll say that. So now we're going to get out. We're to day 6, day 7, and things become very interesting here because both models are in agreement. This is our first wave. Take a look at the dry air that is entraining, almost completely encapsulating it. Here is our second wave. We can already see that we've got dry air entrainment here on the western side as well. And then potentially a third wave with the same feature. So at the 500 millibar level, if anything tries to get developed, it is going to entrain some type of dry air. Now, if we compare that with the GFS, 1, 2, 3, they all show that signal of dry air. Now, we're not talking about the wind shear. We're not talking about, anything other than just the atmospheric moisture. And as you could see here on the 700 millibar level, especially with the Euro, the dry air still remains in place. If we look at it on the GFS, we still have dry air in places. So it's a very interesting set of events here that is ongoing in the tropical Atlantic, being that we've had so much dry air this year and just kind of dominating the overall atmosphere of the tropical Atlantic. Now, I've backed this up to day 6, and the reason is, watch right here over Florida. Now, I'm not saying that we're getting tropical cyclone development, but watch what happens. There is an increase in moisture and a moisture surge. Now, again, this does not have to be organized. Excuse me. This doesn't have to be organized in any way. It is a surge of tropical moisture, though, that is streaming up and out into the northern portion of the Atlantic. That's just going to potentially increase shower and thunderstorm activity and coverage over um, over the entire basin. Let me see here what's going on. Oh, flooded. Backside of Sunshine Cemetery, Buckingham. Oh, wow. Wow, wow, wow. I wish I could there, Jonathan. I wish I could turn the tap off, but unfortunately, this persistent frontal boundary is not necessarily forecast to go anywhere anytime soon. So, and more with more rounds of potential moisture. So, what we have here, again, we have the Euro on the left and the GFS on the right. We have our deep layer wind shear. This is our winds between the 200 millibar level, which is up here, and the 850 millibar level. So we are looking at the winds in this level here to see if they change with height, if they change speed with height, what's going on in this region from approximately 39,000 feet down to approximately 5,000 feet. So we're looking to see if there's any shear. If there is shear, tropical cyclones don't like shear. So let's go back and we'll start to run this forward, and we will notice a little persistent feature that is certainly going to be there and be a factor in its lifespan, at least for this disturbance. We've got an upper level low right here, and we have another one right there. The GFS confirms the Euro's thinking, and actually you've got another one right here, and the Euro also agrees. So you have three areas of low pressure here rotating around the high in a clockwise fashion. All right, we will put the high here, and those are going to rotate around on the clockwise fashion. As this tries to pull northward, it is intersecting and interacting with one of these low pressure systems here, these upper level lows. This is going to increase shear. Knowing that we have the dry air in the region, this is also going to increase the chances for dry air entrainment into whatever attempts to try to develop at the surface and tropically. So we certainly have some questions here, and as you could see, and it's going forward, we still have the area and the disturbance, and there's not really much left of it on the operationals. Not at all. So, as we could see, though, it does look like this first wave is going to potentially pull northward due to those upper level lows, helping to erode the high pressure. Timing is critical, though. Our dust model, as you can see, we have no business really looking at this in the part of September that we are dealing with, but dry air has been an influential factor, so we are going to run it. As we could see, there's multiple little areas of vorticity that are accounted for by this particular model, which is not necessarily formulated for tropical cyclones. This is dust only. So as you can see, we still have a little bit of dust. We've got that dry air. Again, we'll come back here. We've got that dry air filtering down with these upper level lows and dropping some of that dry air into the, I guess you would call it the northern portion of the tropical Atlantic out here. It is into the, kind of the above 20 north. It's very, very dry. But we get intrusions of this dry air south of 20, which is helping to basically arrest and or mitigate any development that we've seen. So right now, everything is looking halfway decent. But things can certainly flip on a dime. And that would most likely be in the form of the Madden-Julian oscillation. Here is the ensembles of the GEFS from the Climate Prediction Center. And as you can see, it is forecast to get out here phase 8, phase 1, which is basically our neck of the woods and on our side of the planet. And then kind of rotate through and potentially quickly exit the scene. Now, we would definitely like to see that. And then potentially building back more towards the Western Pacific at that point. So we compare these and this look here with what we have here on these 200 millibar velocity potential anomalies. And this shows less wind at the upper levels and potentially a little bit of not subsidence, a little bit of, I completely lost my train of thought, not divergence in the upper levels. I kept wanting to say convergence and I knew that was wrong. As we could see, we have in our neck of the woods, we have our MJO pulse potentially rolling through. Maybe a little bit of a weak signal down here. We obviously have something here, but it doesn't look like that the MJO is very strong at all anywhere across the planet as we get into the final week of September. That being said, we still have an amplification spot right here that is September 17th through the 19th, and then give it about 2.5 days after this passes, and then we're really going to have to watch to see if we've got any activity out there, because as this passes by, you don't have the dry air. You've got all the dry air in this region right here, okay? As that MJO pulse moves through, the moisture that is down here in the lower levels, 850 and below, gets lofted as this goes by, and then you bring this moisture up to this level. That's when you could get a tropical cyclone, because obviously all down here, you're not dry airing that. That is literally the ocean surface. So getting dry air this far down is very difficult, being that you are literally over warm water. But as that MJO pulse goes through and draws this moisture up, especially into the 700 millibar level and potentially getting up there into the 600 as well, that's when things can, really start to go, because the thunderstorm activity is not really interrupted by that dry air in the mid-levels and can then continue on developing and growing further and further. So if we compare the GFS with the Euro is definitely a little bit different. So as we can see, we do have that amplification right here, MJO cycling through and out, coming back over, and then potentially trying to intensify and amplify in this area. Now I'll scroll down to show you guys. This would be the Western Pacific and potentially the Indian Ocean area as well. So it's, that would not be uncommon. But the one thing that is completely different is this right here. This means that we would have potentially a little bit of a stronger MJO signal. You have the amplification phase here and the degradation phase here. So it does kind of line up, but the GEFS is not in agreement with that. So let's compare the Euro and the GEFS to the Euro AI. Well, when we pull up the Euro AI, it looks awfully similar to the Euro itself. So maybe even a little bit more of an amplification here you could see the pulse rolling through, coming out on the other side, out here, amplifying over in this area, which would be phase, 2, 3, over the African mainland, getting into the Indian Ocean, maybe just a little bit part of the Western Pacific. But then look at this. That is what's going to be moving into our neck of the woods down here, very, very lower end right there. As you could see, that would be moving into our neck of the woods with an amplification phase over here and a suppression phase over here. So we're going to keep a very, very close watch on this, because this MJO signal, we know we're going to be dealing with it. What we want is for this to just, okay, you're coming through. We know you're coming through. There's nothing we can do to stop it. Just do what you got to do and hurry up and get out. And don't come back for a while. Buy me about 45 days before you decide to return again. And when you come back, you won't like what the basin looks like. And it may spare us from some tropical cyclone activity spawned by the Madden-Julian oscillation. Okay, now, real quick, I am going to jump over here to Earth Null, and we are going to show folks that our area of interest right now is a very, very broad area of circulation. That doesn't even do it justice. We'll try to go from this corner. It's huge. Okay, it is a very broad area of rotation, approximately 1 mile above the ocean surface. If we come up further, the 700 millibar level is not that coherent. And if we come down to the surface, you've got a little bit of, kink in the winds, but nothing closed at this time. Now, one thing that I do want to point out is at the 700 millibar level, and they're very, very faint signals, you get a little bit of a vorticity there and a little bit of a vorticity there. These are just junk, all right? But they are there, so it just shows everybody that even at the 700 millibar level, if any of these would have tried to develop, it would want to go poleward. And look at the flow. You see it right here. This is your high. Right there. Everything's rolling around. You've got the trade winds coming off the African mainland and the waves propagating along that. If it develops, off it goes. You can see you've got a large weakness there in the southwestern Atlantic. But watch what happens when I jump up to about 6 miles above the ocean surface. Boom. A very large upper level low pressure right here that is creating extra wind shear for anything that were to try to get into that region. So all in all, I mean, we're in the monitoring phase right now. I don't see any imminent threat on in the near future at all. I really don't. I don't see, now granted, anytime that we get an area out here, it does look like that it is going to avoid our friends out here in the islands. So that being said, just please keep an eye on it. That's all I ask. We've only got a few more weeks of the threat coming from the main development region for our friends out here in the islands. There's only a few more weeks. If we could just buy a little bit more time without having anything impactful, we get a good season. The season can turn on a dime. I don't care how many storms you have. You could have all the storms in the world never get touched. Not that bad of a season. You could have just a handful of storms get hit, and it's a terrible season. And we're getting to that time of the season to where we really got to just watch everything. The shear values plummet as we're in that transitioning phase from summer going into fall. So if something does get going out there, it could be a concern. It really, really could. But right now, we're good. And as you could see, we still have a considerable amount of our season left to go. All right. Our red includes our tropical storms. Our yellow is our hurricanes. So as you could see, we still have a couple more little peaks. Right here is one, and right there is another one. So it's little things that we have to watch for climatologically. We really need to get through the month of September and get, at least halfway through October. Then the threat really starts to lower. As you could see here, by the time that we get to the middle of October, right in this region right here, things just really start to fall off. So that's what we're looking for. We want to get to here. We really, really want to get to Halloween, because by the time we get to Halloween, yes, we could see something later in the season, but the chances at that become along the, storms per day per 100 years over the course from 44 to 20. So once we get it down, this is like once every 3 years or so, you might get a storm. I'll take that chance. Once every 4 years, I'll take that chance. It's going to be certainly a lot better than what we're looking at when we get into September. And the Global Tropics Hazards Outlook still has us active. So through the end of September, we still have to keep a very close watch on the tropics. We are not done with hurricane season. Just because we've only seen 6 named storms this season so far does not mean anything going forward. We could certainly get more. So everybody stay vigilant, remain weather aware. Just got a little bit more to go. We've been good so far. Let's just hope that we can continue that and catch a break for 2025. We've all been asking for a break of the hurricane season for at least 1 year. Maybe this is our year, but it's too early to say. So we still have to, monitor it and be vigilant about the tropics until that threat really starts to reduce. So now we get out there. I like the reverse psychology, but you said it, not me, Sammy. It could be, quote unquote, Sammy's got in there that 2025 equals a bust. It could be lower than what was previously forecasted and predicted, which would be great. I mean, if the forecasters are going to miss it, I'd rather them miss it to the high side than the low side. And, if we don't get much, hey, I'm certainly not going to complain at all. If we can avoid any potential, direct landfalls this year, that'd be great. Unfortunately, we already have had some fatalities associated with the tropics this year, and that was associated with the Cabo Verde Islands. We lost 6 people due to flash flooding from the tropics. So we would like to have a season with no loss of life. That would be great. If we can eliminate any potential direct landfall now, hey, we may be able to go through the rest of the season without further loss of life. So fingers crossed. All right, out here into the Eastern Pacific, we do have Tropical Storm Mario kind of buried in this cluster and mess here. Got an area of low pressure that looks like it's trying to get its act together, but as you can see just to the north of it, there is an awful lot of stable air and, just stable cloud cover. So whether this it's not listed on the National Hurricane Center. It's just very obvious that there's a area of rotation right here embedded within the monsoon trough itself. So as you can see on the outlook, there is nothing out there for 7 days. We do have Tropical Storm Mario. This was formerly Invest 95E and Tropical Depression 13E. As you can see, it is a very, very small, very compact system. And we do have tropical storm watches in effect. As you can see, though, tiny tropical storm. So it is not very big at all. We are currently located at 17.4 north, 102.9 west, about 90 miles west southwest of this particular town in Mexico, and about 60 miles southwest of that particular town in Mexico. You know, I'm not even going to try, guys. So you can hang it up. I mean, that Kylie was here to help me with my pronunciations. I don't have Kylie. She will be live tomorrow night here on the Tropical Weather Threat Society. It will not be Casper, so you will get the pronunciations. Although at that point in time, I would imagine the watches will be discontinued. Our maximum sustained winds are 40 miles an hour, and we are currently moving west-northwest at 14 miles an hour with a minimum central pressure of 1,006 millibars. We have a tropical storm watch in effect for these areas right here. Not even going to try. The most important point of the public advisory issued by the National Hurricane Center is the hazards affecting land. We do have a rainfall threat, 1 to 3 inches, with locally higher amounts. We get those locally higher amounts in areas of higher terrain and hilly, our hilly terrain. Then we could see flash flooding. So please, pay attention. You guys can feel free, use the database, come down here to North America, click on Mexico, and voila, you will get the local information there for Tropical Storm Mario. So we'll have to just kind of monitor this. It doesn't look like it's going to be much of a impact there for those folks. And then obviously, if we have a tropical storm watch, there could be some windy conditions along the coast. But being that it is a maximum sustained winds of 40 miles an hour, it is not anticipated for this to, be significant damage to infrastructure. If we take a look at the cone, and look, here's our little tropical storm watch. It's this little tiny little spot right there. As this continues to move out and gets away further from the coastline, our watches will be discontinued. And as you can see, no continued threat to land with post-tropical storm here Tuesday at noon. So let's jump into the spaghetti plots, and as you can see, everything is in pretty decent agreement, keeping it well away from our friends here in the Baja Peninsula here in Mexico. So that would be that's great. Keep it away from everybody. They're great to watch. Nah, not so much to have to deal with on a personal level. So we now are taking a look at the forecaster's discussion with Mario. And one thing that I would like to point out here, the European global model, Google DeepMind, and their ensembles generally show the system either moving inland or opening into a trough just offshore later today. Of the systems that maintain Mario for longer into the forecast period, the intensity guidance envelope has trended downward this cycle. Moderate vertical wind shear is expected to plague this system for the next day or so, which should limit any strengthening. If Mario can survive this stage, the environmental conditions are forecast to briefly become more conducive for some gradual intensification early next week. So, it is not in the best environment. It is also, proximity to land isn't helping its situation either. And then very close proximity to the coast is the reason for the watch. Very small section. But all in all, if we look here, we're not even calling for Mario to become hurricane intensity now. Yesterday, they were calling it for it to be upwards of about 80 miles an hour, and now here tonight, 24 hours later, 60. Big difference. And a welcomed difference. Taking a look at the ensembles. Now, if we go out 7 days, we do see a couple that potentially, as you could see, another wave behind this one could offer a threat to the Baja Peninsula. We will be keeping a very close watch on that. If we compare that with the Euro AI, some similar thinking, as you could see here, day 7. We've already gotten rid of Mario. It's pretty much off and gone. And then here comes that next one. So another potential threat. And just monitor things. There's nothing out there yet, nothing on the outlook. Just keep an eye on it. And if we compare that with the GEFS is awfully aggressive with this next system. Does give it the opportunity to achieve a little bit more intensity than what Mario has in store for it. Even if we come back to 7 days, as you can see, Mario is not the big culprit of some of that intensity. It is the next one. So something to watch, something to keep an eye on. And out here into the Western Pacific, our tropical storm Blossom out here into the southern Indian Ocean yesterday has since had its final advisory and has succumbed to the hostile conditions. And 93S, even though it was red yesterday, is now yellow today, so we may not have anything there. I need to draw the attention to this little spot out here into the Western Pacific. And the reason is I got to come back to the Google DeepMind. And we're going to discard this. We're going to jump out of the, we're going to jump out here. And as you can see, we've got a spot with that first one, okay? So if I go here, you can see right back into the same spot, into Vietnam, Laos, Thailand, and all of that area again, Hainan Island. Watch what happens behind this. This is crazy. Look at that. Look at that. Once it gets past Guam, that's insane signal right there. You figure 50 ensemble members and only... none of them, 0, with no development. 21 tropical depressions, 26 tropical storms, 1 Cat 1. Okay? If I run this forward a little bit more, look at this. This gets insane. Now, we're going to take it up here to day 8. At the peak, and at this point, we are very close to the northern island of the Philippines, Luzon, and then potentially getting over towards Taiwan as well. As you could see, there are a lot of tracks here, but look at the intensity on this thing. You have 0 tropical depression, 0 tropical storm, 4 Cat 1s, 3 Cat 2s, 14 Category 3s, 26 Category 4s, 1 Category 5, and a partridge in a pear tree. I saw this earlier and I was like, oh my God. Because look, this stays on a west-northwest track, has no northerly component to it, and potentially could get over to maybe even Hong Kong and be very strong on approach. So, all eyes on the Western Pacific come next week, for sure. No doubt about it. That's going to be potentially kind of scary. That signal is like, oh, Lord have mercy, no. Please. Okay. All right. Let me see. James, we've got more Spanish questions on YouTube referring to Puerto Rico. For Puerto Rico, I do not see anything within the next week right now. So you guys should be good to go there, Puerto Rico. You got at least 7 days without any imminent threat. So we'll be back every night this week to cover the models, to see what's changed, to see how things are evolving, and we'll kind of go from there. We'll monitor these waves coming off the African mainland, and we'll keep checking in on our potential Central American gyre, threat, spin up potential, whatever you want to call it. So, all right, everybody. Oh, wait a minute. Today's Keith's birthday? Where? Today's Keith's birthday? Oh, I'm terrible with birthdays, folks. Keith is a very, um, a very valuable member of the Tropical Weather Threat Society. You see him; he makes our 11 p.m. posts, and we're constantly back and forth in chat. So, happy birthday, brother! I hope you have a great day, and take it easy. We've got you covered for the 11 tonight. Somebody else will be posting it tonight, not him. It is his birthday. Absolutely not. So, yeah, have a wonderful day there, brother. And we'll talk to y'all tomorrow night. We will be back live here, 6 p.m. Eastern, 5 p.m. Central on Facebook and YouTube. So, until then, folks, have a wonderful evening, and we'll discuss any of the changes that we get tomorrow night. Have a wonderful night, everybody.